Okay, so final exam review number 1. Let's go over these answers. Okay, for number 1, it says write an algebraic expression for each of the following. 7 less than twice the number. First shall be last, last shall be first. 2n minus 7. For B, it says 7 more than twice the number. So that would be 2n plus 7. Again, more than, less than, fewer than. Last shall be first, first shall be last. Okay? The sum of twice a number and 3. So that's the sum of twice a number, which is 2n, and 3. So 2n plus 3, as opposed to twice the sum of a number and 3. So there we have to do the sum first, which is n plus 3, then twice it. Number 2, subtract 6d from, it says solve for c. This is a literal equation, so we want to get c by itself. So I subtract 6d from both sides, then I divide by 3, and I get c equals 7 minus 6d, which you could write as c equals negative 6d plus 7. Either way is perfectly acceptable. Letter B, solve for v. K equals 1/2 mv squared. First thing I'm going to do is multiply by 2, which looks a little sloppy there, but I get 2k equals mv squared. Then I divide by m. Still working on getting v by itself. V squared is 2k over m, and then to get rid of a squared, I have to square root. So I do square root, and I get v equals the square root of 2k over m, which is what I have there. Some bracket notation and some interval notation. This says the n is between -2 and 5, but it's not allowed to equal them. Oh, actually it is. There's a less than or equal to sign there. It's not coming up so well here, but I'm sure it does on your paper. So this is a bracket, -2 to 5 bracket. When it's or equal to and it's allowed to, it's a bracket. And the top and bottom of the bracket make the equal sign to remind you. As opposed to letter B, which is a parenthesis because you're not allowed to equal that -3. So it's parenthesis -3 to 7. Number 4, solve the inequality for, oh, and by the way, also the 7 is a bracket because you are allowed to equal the 7 because it's filled in. If it's not filled in, it's a parenthesis. If it is filled in, it's a bracket. Solve each inequality for the variable. -4v minus 8 is less than 16. Add 8 to both sides. -4v is less than 24. Divide by -4. Now here's the little catch in this. Anytime you multiply or divide by a negative, you have to switch the sign. For a big explanation, you can go back to the lesson on that. But just remember, you have to switch the sign of the direction of the inequality. Less than becomes greater than. Letter B, subtract 4 from both sides. N over 5 is greater than or equal to 3. Multiply both sides by 5. N is greater than or equal to 15. You do not switch the sign when you multiply or divide by a positive. Only when you multiply or divide by a negative. It doesn't matter what you go into. Only matters what you do by. Number 5A, opposite side, opposite operation. Always like to start off with the variables. So my first step is to subtract 2t from both sides. 3t minus 1 is 20. Add 1 to both sides. 3t is 21. Dividing by 3t is 7. Here on letter B, this is a same side, same operation. So I get all my y's together, and 8y's minus 5y's is 3y's, plus another y is 4y. And I also get my numbers together. -3 and -1 make -4. So 4y minus 4 is 12. Add 4 to both sides. 4y is 16. My dog is playing with a squeaky toy. Divide both sides by 4. Y equals 4. Letter C. Oh, I have to distribute on this one. So I distribute the 3 to the 4y minus 1. I get 12y minus 3. And then on the other side, it's same side. I get 2y minus 23. Opposite side operation with the y's. Subtracting 2y's, I get 10y minus 3 is -23. Add 3 to both sides. 10y is -20. Dividing by 10, y is -2. And then letter D is a fractional equation where we have lots of fractions in it. So what you're going to do is find the least common denominator of all of the terms. And I actually made a mistake here. I should have used 20, but just to show, even if you don't get it right, you can still kind of work it out here a little bit. I should have used 20, I used 10. But let's see what happens when we use 10, because it does get rid of all the variable bottoms, and that was the big thing. You just get a decimal out of it. 10 times 2n over 5 is 4n. 10 times n over 10 is n. Negative 1 times 10 is negative 10. And 3 1/4 times 10 is 32.5. 12 times 10 is 120. So the fact that if I would have used 20, I wouldn't have a decimal here. The fact that I used 10 gave me a decimal, but it worked out okay. So I made a little bit of a mistake, but as long as I get rid of the variable denominators, it still works out. 4n plus n is 5n, and then negative 10 and 32.5 is 22.5, equals 120. Subtract 22.5, and I get 5n is 97.5. Dividing by 5, I get 19.5. And if I would have used 20, it also would have worked out to 19.5. It doesn't make a difference as long as I do the same thing to both sides. Okay, so what I do want to talk about here and pause for just a second that I forgot to mention earlier is if you can do absolutely every single question on all of these pretests, you know what you're doing, you see the problem, you have a sense of direction. I mean, look, we all make careless mistakes. I just made one. But other than careless mistakes, if you really know what you're doing on each of these questions, then you're fully prepared to get 100 on your final. I don't pull any tricks. I'm not trying to surprise anybody. I'm not trying to make people fail. That has nothing to do with it. I want to give you an opportunity to prove that the hard work that you've done all semester long is exhibited. So that's what I'm doing here. All right. Number 5. The length of a rectangular garden is 5 more than twice the width. So that means I have W and 2W plus 5. Okay, always draw that picture when you're dealing with shapes. The perimeter is 84. So left side, top, right side, bottom, all add up to 84. 6W plus 10 is 84, minus 10 from both sides. 6W is 74, dividing by 6. And that would give me 12 1/3. Okay, 74 divided by 6 is 12 1/3. If you check it, it does work out. It says find the dimensions. I didn't put the dimension down here. Bad mistake. The length on this guy works out to be 24 2/3, and then plus 5 is 29 2/3. So the length works out to be 29 2/3. Okay. Now, this question about the family going shopping. Basically, there's 3 different discounts, and you want to find the best discount, the one that's going to save you the most money. Jenna finds it directly for 40% off, and if she takes 40% off, remember we did a lot of these questions, if 40% is taken off, then 40% taken off, 60%, I was a step ahead of myself there, 60% remains. So 60 out of 100 is what out of 48? I cross multiply, and I get n equals 28.80. So that's Jenna's cost. Now Jim, the hubby, he finds it for 20% off and then an additional 20% off, the reduced price. So you might say, oh man, this is great. Jim's finding it for the same exact price. And that's not true. See, if you do 80% of the original price of $48, it's knocked down to $38.40. So if you pay 80%, that's the first 20% off. Then he takes 20% off again. And when you do that, you do 80% of $38.40 this time, and it works out to $30.72. And you say, how come it's different? It's because the first 20% off is taken off the same 48, but the second 20% off is not taken off of the 48. It's only taken off of the result after the first 20%. So you're taking an additional 20% of less money off. And that's why it doesn't work out the same. Jolene finds it for 2/7 off. So you do 2/7 times 48, you get $13.71. Subtract that from 48, you get $34.29. So the best price is Jenna's price. You could have also done 5/7 times 48. You would have gotten directly to $34.29. Okay, I thought I really did a poor job explaining this equation, but you're going to do this 3 times. So by the time you get to the third one, I think you'll understand. Here's my diagram. It should have said the angle between BA and the shed. It doesn't. It says the angle between tree A and tree B. Well, that's only part of it. It also sort of should have said the shed. So I apologize for that. But we'll put a 2n here at A. And then for B, we'll put a 2n plus 2, I think that says, yeah. And then for the angle at the shed, we're going to put a 4n minus 10. And if we add them all up, we get 180. So 8n minus 8 is 180. Add 8 to both sides. 8n is 188. Dividing by 8, I get n is 23.5. Now it wants the angle at the shed, which was 4 times 23.5 minus 10, which is 84. And number 8, find the two legs of an isosceles triangle are 5n minus 11 and 3n plus 23. The base is 4n plus 7. It says find the length of one of the legs. Well, the legs are equal. So that means that 5n minus 11 has to equal 3n plus 23. A little opposite side, opposite operation here, subtracting the 3n's, adding the 11, dividing by 2, n is 17. But don't stop there because it wants the length of one of the legs. Oh, what are they asking for? 3 times 17 plus 23 is what they're asking for. That's 51 and 23 is 74. So that is numbers 1 through 8.